tab. Select this and the link to the agenda will appear on the right. If you look above the meeting, you will see a Resources tab. Select this and the link to the agenda will appear on the right-hand side. This will then enable you to open the agenda reports as PDF documents and follow the discussion. A reminder for members: keep your microphone muted and your camera off until called to speak. Ensure that the chat function is accessible to you. Indicate that you want to speak by typing your request into the chat function. Turn on your camera and microphone prior to speaking. Turn them off again when you have finished. You now need to just check all members are present and their equipment is working correctly. Okay, thanks. Good evening and welcome to this remote meeting of Wirral Strategic Applications Subcommittee. My name's Stuart Kelly and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting will be webcast and a record retained on the council website. For those people at home who are viewing the webcast, if you look above the meeting, you will see a resources tab. Select this and the link to the agenda will appear on the right-hand side. This will then enable you to open the agenda reports as PDF documents and follow the discussion. A reminder for members, keep your microphone muted and your camera off until called to speak. Ensure that the chat function is accessible to you. Indicate that you want to speak by typing your request into the chat function. Turn on your camera and microphone prior to speaking. Turn them off again when you have finished. I now need to just check all members are present and their equipment is working correctly. When I call your name, could you turn on your camera and then the microphone and confirm, please? So, George Davies, are you here?
George Davies here, present and correct, Stuart. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think we saw you, but we did earlier. Steve Foulkes? See you now, George. Yep. Steve Foulkes.
Yes, Chair, present. Thank you.
Okay. Andrew Gardner.
Yes, Andrew Gardner here.
Andrew. Kathy Hodson.
Kathy Hodson, present. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. And Paul Stuart.
Present, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 1 on our agenda, that is apologies. I think everyone is here. So there's obviously no apologies for absence. Just an apology for those watching at home for what might be perceived as a late start. However, there was a slight difficulty getting the stream to air, which we've hopefully now resolved. Item 2 then is to approve the accuracy of the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of December. Hopefully nobody is indicating they wish to object to those.
Agreed.
Q. They'll be taken as agreed. Item 3, Members' Code of Conduct, Declarations of Interest. Members are asked to consider whether they have any disclosable pecuniary interests and or any other relevant interest in connection with any item on the agenda, and if so, to declare it and to state the nature of the interest. Nobody declared a particular interest. Okay. The meeting then. Item 4, land to the north of Pyramid Shopping Centre, incorporating land north and south of Conway Street, northwest of Europa Boulevard, Birkenhead, a hybrid application for the phased redevelopment of land within Birkenhead Town Centre. Can I ask planning officers to introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, can see that fine.
Yep. Okay, thank you. So just the site location, obviously Birkenhead Town Centre. So you've got Conway Street running through the middle. You've got Birkenhead Market, Europa Buildings, the View Cinema, Europa Boulevard, and then just an aerial shot to show where we are. The application is a hybrid application, so part detailed, part outline, and it consists of a detailed application for plot A, which is offices in the bottom corner, and plot H for a substation. The outline application, I say, it's been split into different plots. So the outline consists of plot B, which is for office buildings either 3 or 4 stories tall. And this has been changed from the original submission, which was identified as a potential car park. Plot C, which is where the existing market is, the proposals for retail, office and leisure uses. Maximum stories of 7 stories, and a new market, Birkenhead Market, with a minimum floor space of 2,700 square metres will be included on this plot. Plot D is a small substation on the corner of St Werburgh Square. Plot E is for retail, leisure, office, hotel and residential uses. in buildings with a maximum height of 9 stories. Plot F is for upgrade works to the Birkenhead bus station and incorporating a super crossing across Conway Street. Moving to the north of Conway Street, plots G, I and J are to create a new residential neighbourhood and incorporates the potential for a new multi-storey car park and a hotel on plot G. Buildings on plot G will be between 4 and 9 stories. Plot I will be between 3 and 7 stories, and plot J will be between 2 and 3 stories. So all this is captured in a parameters plan, which will form an approved document to ensure that the reserve matters applications do not exceed the approved parameters. So the applicant submitted an illustrative master plan. So although the matters are outlined, they've indicated how they believe buildings could come forward on the site, although this is not set in stone. And then again, just a further iteration of the illustrative master plan. And I think this one is a good example of showing that the green spaces, the green corridors, linear parks that run through the scheme. Just another aerial shot of the illustrative scheme. So block A is the proposed office, which is a full application, and as I say, the rest of the scheme as shown indicatively. And just a couple of visualisations, but Birkenhead Market. I'll say a couple of further visualisations now. And in terms of the plot A, which is for full application, so that's for 2 5-storey office buildings with ancillary retail and leisure uses at ground floor. It's expected that Wirral Council will accommodate at least one of the buildings. Plot H would be for a primary substation located to the rear of Europa pools. And just a bit more detail on plot A, the offices. So this is effectively where Milton Pavement is at the moment. And it's been demolished. So Milton Pavement leads down to the bottom of the screen towards the Pyramid Shopping Centre. And it's the 2 office buildings with ancillary use at ground floor. The design, again, just to highlight, this is detailed design. So a terracotta cladding on the left-hand side and a sort of pale stone colour for the right-hand building. Just a visualisation. So these are the two full application buildings, as in visualisation terms. So moving on to the key issues, I'll just outline what we consider the key issues are as set out in the report. So the proposed development falls within category 10B of the EIA regulations, and the application was therefore accompanied by an environmental statement to evaluate the likely environmental, social and economic impacts of the development. This being assessed and the necessary mitigation measures have been secured, and we're therefore satisfied that the EIA is robust and comprehensive enough and acceptable for determining the application. In terms of principal development and proposed land uses, the development will result in a large-scale regeneration of Birkenhead Town Centre, with new commercial uses introduced, including a new market as one of the key catalysts and a new residential neighbourhood. The development is estimated to create between 1,300 and 3,500 new jobs and an additional £39 to £96 million gross value added per year to the local economy. The new commercial uses will largely be within the designated town centre, and this complies with local and national policy. However, the new residential units to the north of Conway Street will be on land subject to UDP policy EM2, which identifies the site for commercial uses only. This part of the proposal, therefore, a departure from the UDP. Additionally, the proposed hotel on this part of the site is also not identified as a suitable use in policy EM2. There's also a departure. However, given the widespread benefits created by the regeneration of Birkenhead Town Centre and the borough overall, and the acknowledgement, notably in the NPPF, that residential development on suitable sites within the town centres can play an important role, it's accepted that the proposed use of the area to the north of Conway Street for residential and hotel use can be supported. Additionally, it should be noted that as the hotel will be over 5,000 square metres, is outside the designated town centre and classed as a departure from the development plan, the application must be referred to the Secretary of State should committee be minded to approve it. In terms of housing, the application proposes up to 651 new dwellings, most of which will be on plots G, I and J to the north of Conway Street. This is a substantial number and significantly will be built on brownfield land and therefore supported. There's a requirement for 10% affordable housing, which is secured, subject to viability. And the development will also provide a minimum of 10% family dwellings, which are classed as three bedrooms plus, and that could rise to 20%. Additionally, 5% of the units will also be capable of easy adaptation to wheelchair standards. In terms of design, scale and massing, the 2 office buildings subject to the detailed application have been designed to pick up on materials found in the locality. So as I showed before, building A1 will be a pale stone colour similar to Hamilton Square, and the other building would use a terracotta colour similar to the Conway building. At 5 stories tall, they're considered to be of a suitable scale within the town centre and have sufficient design interest. The outline application has all matters reserved, and therefore the visuals that I've shared, including the one on the screen now, are only indicative at this stage. However, discussions have taken place to secure a design code which will secure many of the positive aspects shown. The design code is one of the key factors which addresses the original Places Matter review of the scheme, the design code is basically all reserved matters must comply with the design code. In terms of what that's secured, it effectively secures minimum and maximum height for buildings so that they're of a suitable scale, both in terms of adding height to the scheme, as suggested by Places Matter, while also ensuring that they're not excessively tall. The parameters plan indicates that the tallest buildings could be 9 stories on both plots E and G, which are at the heart of the development. It also secures maximum areas of built development on each plot to ensure sufficient areas of public realm and movement are retained around each building. It secures crucial links through the scheme, in particular the north-south linear park which runs through the site, and the east-west link from plot A to St Werburgh Square, which ensures the scheme is legible and ties in with the rest of the town centre. Plot E4 is also identified as forming a bookend at the end of Europa Boulevard, and that's another outcome of the Places Matter review. So that plot is shown as the blue building at the moment, but I say that's only indicative in terms of the appearance on the visualisation. We've also secured minimum widths for the linear parks within the site and high quality public realm. The public realm and landscaping has been highlighted as one of the key factors to the success of the development, and the design code secures this. It also secures matters such as active frontages and minimum window depths. So based on the parameters plan and the requirements set out in the design code, both of which will be approved documents, it's considered that the design scale and massing of the proposal is acceptable and can be adequately controlled at reserved matters stage. In terms of heritage, the proposals would result in development of significant scale being introduced within the widest townscape setting of the Crown Public House, which is on Conway Street and is a Grade 2 listed building. And there's therefore potential for a moderate adverse impact on this building. In this case, it's considered that the public benefits that the development will bring, together with the introduction of high quality landscaping, would outweigh any moderate harm. In terms of social infrastructure, the development would result in the loss of a cinema and bingo hall, both classed as social infrastructure. The development does allow for replacement provision in the form of D1 and D2 uses, but given the outline nature of the proposal, this cannot be guaranteed. Therefore, for these reasons, the loss of the cinema and bingo hall is a material consideration, which is to be weighed against the wider public benefits of the scheme. In terms of education, the development would result in a forecast requirement of 51 primary school places. Taking into consideration the existing surplus capacity and extant planning permissions in the area, a commuted sum for £275,000 has been agreed to provide 1 new classroom for primary school aged children. In terms of sport and leisure, Sport England acknowledged that the proposal incorporates elements of its active design principles, and in addition the applicant will provide a commuted sum of £100,000 for improvement works to Conway playing fields and a further £100,000 for enhancing open space and play facilities in the area. The scheme has been designed so it contains significant areas of landscape and public realm and amenity space, with a linear park and connections running through the site. And this will provide sufficient amenity space for future occupiers, given that it's town centre living with occupiers also within close proximity of existing local amenity spaces such as Birkenhead Park and Dock Branch Park when it comes forward. In terms of local employment, a training and employment plan will be secured through the Section 106 agreement, and that will ensure that opportunities are given to local people during the construction of the scheme and in the long term. Highways and parking. The site is considered to be a highly sustainable location, with Conway Park railway station and Birkenhead bus station, both located within or directly adjacent to the site. The traffic impact has been assessed following the submission of a transport assessment. It's concluded that the detailed application would result in no material change in traffic flow across the network, and the outline proposals, even at the maximum parameters, would not have a strategic level impact across the network. The specific highway works required for the detailed application are secured by condition, and works required for the outline proposals will be secured by condition or set out in further detail in reserved matters applications. Overall, we're satisfied that the proposal will not harm the highway network. The proposal also includes works at the bus station, including closing off access to Clawton Road, and new works to Conway Street, including a new super crossing near its junction with Europa Boulevard. Conditions will ensure that the super crossing and the crossing at Clawton Road and the bus station works are carried out prior to certain triggers linked to the development of certain plots. In relation to parking, a survey found that there were 2,221 car park spaces in the town centre, which was considered to be a surplus. As part of the application, 747 spaces will be removed or built upon, reducing the supply to 1,474 spaces, albeit the loss of parking will only take place incrementally as certain plots are developed. To mitigate this, a multi-storey car park is to be built on plot G to provide up to an additional 590 spaces, and the size and requirement for when the car park is to be built will be determined through surveys at reserved matters stage. In terms of impact on neighbouring properties, whilst the site is largely within a commercial area, there are dwellings in close proximity to the west of the site on Clawton Road, Price Street and Birchwood Close and Birchwood Avenue. As details relating to the plots adjacent to these properties are reserved, the impact on the properties cannot be fully assessed at this stage. However, the potential impact of overshadowing, loss of privacy and outlook as a result of any new buildings will be a key factor in reserved matters applications. And a condition has been attached to require sunlight and daylight analysis to be submitted with any reserved matters to determine the potential impacts on neighbouring properties. In terms of biodiversity and ecological matters, the applicant has agreed that the scheme will result in a 10% biodiversity net gain to be secured by condition. The site is within close proximity to the Liverpool Bay and Mersey Narrows special protection areas, and as such a habitat regulation assessment has been carried out. This concluded that the scheme will not impact on nearby protected sites, provided the contribution of £81,000 is made towards mitigating recreational pressure on the coast. This contribution would aid rangers in their management of coastal sites. And in addition, homeowner packs will be required for all new occupiers to educate them on the potential harm increased recreational activity can have on the coast and identifying alternative areas of recreation. Sustainability, the two office buildings as part of the detailed application will be designed to BREEAM excellent standard and will be very low carbon, energy efficient buildings. There's also a commitment for future reserved matters applications to have regard to the submitted energy and sustainability statement in order to maximise carbon saving potential, reduce energy demands, and includes the potential to connect to any future district heating network. In terms of the Section 106 agreements, I've touched upon them just before, but I'll run through them on the screen now just so it's clear. So 10% affordable housing, 20% family housing, with a minimum guarantee of 10%, payment of £81,000 for recreational pressure, estate management plan to set out management of private areas within the site, a clause to secure public rights of access through the site, a travel plan to secure sustainable travel, including the requirement for a travel plan coordinator, a training and employment plan to ensure that local jobs are secured across the site, a payment of £100,000 towards enhancement of open space and children's play facilities near the site, a payment of £100,000 towards improving drainage and facilities for Conway playing fields, £275,000 to pay for a new classroom to meet the need for primary school age children, a clause to secure the provision of a new market at a minimum size of 2,700 square metres, SUDS maintenance fees for Europa Boulevard and monitoring fees for the agreement. It's therefore recommended that committee approves the application subject to referral to the Secretary of State. The attached conditions and the Section 106 agreements are set out. In addition, it's also requested that delegated authority is given to the Director of Regeneration and Place in consultation with the Chair to make minor non-substantive amendments to the heads of terms and conditions, and there's also a minor change to the recommendation requested so that delegated authority is also given to add additional conditions where necessary. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. If you could, there you go. Yes. Okay. We'll now just hear from the applicants. We've got Mr. Horner and Mr. Dickinson. If Mr. Horner and Mr. Dickinson could turn on their cameras. See whether we
yes, good evening, Chair. Hope you can see me.
Excellent. Are you both planning to speak to us? Or?
I'll just give a brief intro, if that's all right. Yes, and then hand over to Greg, if that's okay.
Okay. Now, obviously, this is a new subcommittee. Normally, a planning committee objectors and applicants have 5 minutes to speak to us, and then open to questions. So I might try and stick to the 5-minute presentation, but I think when it comes to questions, because it's a large and varied application, members may very well have questions for the case officer and also questions for the applicant. So I'll probably be a little bit more, rather than pigeonhole everything as we would normally with smaller applications. If you can be available maybe to ask any questions that are directed at you during the course of our discussion this evening. Is that okay with that?
Yes, that's absolutely fine. There are other members on the call who may be more appropriate to answer some questions, but we're happy to answer any questions. Yeah. Okay.
So you have 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll try and keep to within 5 minutes. Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I just wanted to say really that we're delighted to be here at this point. Proud to have finally reached this important milestone for Birkenhead. This is the culmination of 3 years of hard work and really focused effort, lots of consultation and working in partnership with your council colleagues. And I think together we've produced a plan which sets out the vision for a desperately needed reinvention and transformation of the town centre. As you heard, it includes a vibrant new market, food and drink, sustainable buildings, energy efficient buildings, new homes, new public spaces, open spaces, event spaces. It'll link with the rest of the town through pedestrian and cycle routes. But above all, it's designed for people to enjoy, whether they're working, playing, eating, drinking, or just visiting. And not just for those people who work or live in the town, but those from right across the borough and beyond. So we want to reach out to a lot of people and have reached out to a lot of people through these plans. And just finally, I'd say, I think it's fair to say too many plans have had false dawns in the past, but this one is different. This one will be delivered because it will be delivered by the growth company. So to sign off, we're really excited. We can't wait to get cracking and start to make a real difference in Birkenhead, all subject to planning permission, of course. So that's all I want to say. Greg, did you want to say a few words?
Thanks, Mike. Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Greg Dixon. I'm the agent for the application. Personally, I'd support what Mike said, and I've worked on hundreds of planning applications and many regeneration schemes, but I think I must say that this hybrid plan application has the potential to deliver the greatest transformation of maybe all of those. Over the past 3 years, as Mike alluded to, the Grove Company's placed a clear and committed and proactive emphasis on consultation with local people, organisations and businesses. There's been 3 stages to that consultation activity. It's included over 25 events in 2019, plus various virtual activities in 2020 and into 2021. Consultation has shaped the application before you this evening. It's helped to secure support for the proposals and reduce objections, as demonstrated by the lack of parties formally objecting to the application this evening. The application proposes, as Neil alluded to, over 1.4 million square feet of new development over a 15-year period. It includes the development of new homes up to 651, a new market for Birkenhead, as well as new office, retail and leisure development. It will deliver a range and multiple social, economic and environmental benefits, including jobs and training opportunities, as well as high quality design and placemaking at the heart of the town centre. The proposals have also been progressed, and this is an important point, alongside the work the council is doing in relation to its emerging local plan and the 2040 vision for Birkenhead, which is obviously very exciting. I think it's also worth adding that the application has been progressed during the COVID-19 pandemic. The benefit we see of that is that the proposed development has been designed flexibly to ensure that Birkenhead can adapt should similar circumstances prevail in the future. We hope that's not going to be the case, but the master plan has been prepared to embrace that challenge. Climate change also remains a pivotal challenge for current and future generations. The growth company has therefore progressed a sustainable, forward-thinking approach to the design of the buildings and also public spaces. I think there's been lots of benefits talked about, but the areas of the scheme that go beyond the traditional sustainability benefits of a proposal include BREEAM excellent standard of office building. There'll be a net reduction in car parking spaces across the town centre, a commitment to achieving WELL Gold office accreditation, enhancements to Birkenhead bus station, creation of flexible green event spaces, a 10% increase in biodiversity or net gain, a net increase in tree canopy coverage, which I don't think has been mentioned yet to date. And as we touched upon in the Section 106 heads of terms, investment in play spaces for children and along the coast. Improvements to sports pitches in Birkenhead and a new local classroom for children. So our assessment overall confirms that the application delivers multiple and a wide range of benefits. It aligns with the development plan as a whole, and furthermore it represents sustainable development that accords with the guidance laid out within the National Planning Policy Framework. There's a raft of technical surveys, assessments and reports that have been submitted in relation to the application, and there are no technical objections from statutory or local council teams. The heads of terms set out within the reports committee are agreed, and we do not have any issue with the principle of the draft conditions. We do, however, support that delegated powers be granted to officers to finalise and agree the detail of those conditions. So in summary, on the basis of the foregoing and all those positives and potentially transformational matters, we politely request that members support officers' recommendation and approve this planning application. In doing so, that will aid development really kick-starting on site during the summer of this year. Thank you, Chair, members, everyone this evening. Happy to take questions.
Okay, we'll thanks for that and for keeping nearly in time. Okay, we'll see where we get you with questions. So I'll try and be flexible with it. And I think I just wanted to start really with Neil as the case officer or any other planning officer. Clearly, it's a large mixed application, and we have a long and comprehensive analysis in our report. It's been suggested it has been long in the development, and as residents of Wirral, obviously we will have seen, as members and residents, we will have seen the consultation progress. But this is a planning meeting, so we need to understand the planning balance. Clearly, the benefits of regeneration of new houses and jobs are self-evident and set out. Let's have a look at the other side of it, though. It's down as a departure from the development plan. That's the UDP. Can I just clarify, is it just the residential and hotel element on employment land that makes it a departure? Neil.
Thank you, Chair. It is effectively because north of Conway Street, it's classed as Conway Park, and it's under policy EM2, which allows for commercial uses, but not residential or hotel use. Okay, that's clear. And I think, members, we should weigh in the balance the age of the UDP and the aspirations of the council in the year 2000 when it allocated that land as employment land only. When we make our decision, reference has been made to a referral to the Secretary of State. I think my understanding, if you could just confirm that, is that hotel use is not considered an employment use, and that's it's just the hotel. It is just the hotel. But because it's outside the designated town centre, and of a certain volume at floor space, and is a departure from the development plan. So it is just a hotel is the issue why we need to refer it as the Secretary of State.
Thanks for that. Thanks. Just so that we're clear. Okay, just go through some aspects of the report then, Neil. So looking at the issue of amenity space, some of it's associated with the public realm works and some with the residential part of it. The report indicates a shortfall. I'm not clear whether it's in the public realm or whether it's in the residential. Are we looking to address some of the shortfalls, certainly in the residential side, by private amenity space?
There is the opportunity within the reserve matters applications to provide private amenity space. So that's what we will be looking to do. But the development overall, obviously, as I sort of touched upon earlier, there's large elements of landscaping and amenity spaces, linear parks created, a contribution towards improving open spaces in the surrounding area.
Right.
And obviously it's town centre living to some extent, so we're satisfied that future occupiers will have sufficient access to amenity space.
Okay, thanks for that. And the developer, when they just spoke there, they referred to tree canopy cover. Can we confirm that the replacement trees or the tree provision for those trees that will be lost complies with the new tree strategy that the council has adopted?
It will do. As Greg said, the applicants agreed that there'll be an increase in canopy cover over the lifetime of the development compared to the current situation. So it will comply with the tree strategy.
Okay. I'll open it up now then for members to ask questions to start with. I think of either Neil as the lead case officer, or either of the developers who have spoken. Any questions from members? No questions? Okay, Steve. Yeah. Steve Foulkes.
Yeah, I'm coming in. Okay, thanks, Chair. Yeah, you covered a number of the points, and clearly the point about it being contradictory to the current UDP. Just to confirm and have it said publicly, I think the developer mentioned that it's maybe opposed to the UDP as we have now, but it's very much in line with the local plan and the Section 19 consultation that's going out at the moment. And but officers and developers could defer that. That's the issue about us wishing to create or release what we are phrasing brownfield sites for housing, to take the pressure off the green belt, and that's the ethos of the new local plan. And this makes a very valuable contribution. 650 removed, if this was not approved tonight, 650 removed from that would blow a major hole in it. Perhaps officers can come back on that. And I'll continue along the line of a couple of the questions. We are asked as members to consider the material consideration, which is the loss of social amenities, social infrastructure. Now, clearly, our planning officers will look at it in planning terms, and I don't think any business post-COVID could be guaranteed into the future. We haven't got a crystal ball. But my view is that if a business is successful now, or was successful in that area pre-COVID, then we should move hell and earth to ensure that that business remains in that area, providing those social infrastructure activities. And I'm not sure about what particular ones, but the ones that do stick out are the bingo, the Mecca Bingo facility, and the view. I would hope that we would all work together to ensure a seamless transition for those businesses. If they were successful prior to COVID and we come out of COVID, then we're hoping that they will stay. So perhaps the developer and the planners can touch on that issue. I might come back later, Stuart, but I've been having a little look through. I just went on Wikipedia and looked at the history of Birkenhead, And some of the milestones that are quoted on there go back as far as 1847 when the docks were created and the Mersey Tunnel being created. But it does mention the other big development we've done down there as being significant. That the last really big development was the 90s, which was the Pyramids Centre. And it does refer to that, and this abuts that. So I think when we look in the future, maybe this will come up on Wikipedia when in 50 years' time as being a major step for the town. So I think it is of that sort of significance. This application is that large. It's of that significance. I think we should take it seriously and make sure, we all work together. And I like the idea of flexibility because the world changes, as we know, overnight. So I agree with the flexible and phasing approach within it. And perhaps the developers or Neil can say more about the flexibility within the plan. So thanks, Stuart, for bringing me in.
Okay, Steve. Yeah, I want to be flexible in and out as things occur, and we move on to different areas of subject. Kath Lawless, do you want to make a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If I can just perhaps comment on what Councillor Foulkes has said. This is making or creating that new quarter for Birkenhead Town Centre. And for a town centre to be successful, it also needs, residents and people to visit it. So putting sort of 650 odd houses or dwellings close by will actually also help sort of make the businesses in the area successful. And that's part of what we've been doing here, is looking at that, creating that mixed use sustainable community. To pick up on Councillor Foulkes' point about sort of creating spaces where businesses can flourish. Neil put a plan up there that showed you a number of new spaces, new public squares effectively that are going to be created. And he also explained that the design code will ensure that there are active frontages in that area, so that the ground floor spaces that front onto the public squares will have an active use. Because it's an outline, then we want that flexibility going forward to allow businesses coming forward to animate those particular spaces. We can't guarantee that the bingo hall or whatever would relocate there, but there will be space should they want to, because there are provision for leisure and retail within the areas. But what we're trying to do there is create those animated spaces that also link into the bus station. And you'll have seen there's a square quite close to where the bus station, so the bus station gets integrated back into Birkenhead Town Centre. So thank you, Chair.
Just to follow that up in terms of the social infrastructure, the use that's there at the moment, that's currently on the land that's in outline, effectively, isn't it? So we're not expecting, that whole area to be cleared and the current tenants removed until we see the full plan application, I assume.
Sorry, yeah, the detailed element is for the 2 office blocks and for the substation. So, and those areas, as members be aware, they're being cleared already. In terms of parts of Milton pavements are going down. That's perhaps showing the commitment to the fact that the development is keen to go ahead, subject to planning permission. The other elements that there's a planning condition proposed for that will ensure that when each block comes forward, it will be planned comprehensively, so that we can then see what the overall plan is for that block, including the public realm, and we can develop that incrementally over the 15-year lifespan of the application. Okay.
I have a message from legal who heard what Steve said about the how the application may very well comply with the aspirations in the local plan. However, legal point out that only limited weight can be given to the local plan because it's not reached regulation 19 stage yet. We know this. So when we apply the planning balance to whether we can put residential in an employment area, it will have to be on the understanding that we consider that at this time, at the moment, to be a better solution than continuing to hold this as employment land and recognise in doing so that it is actually a departure from the development plan. Is that okay, Cecilia?
If I can just come in, well, the point I was actually also trying to make is that Councillor Foulkes stated that Reg 19 is out at the moment, and it's actually we aren't at a Reg 19 consultation stage as yet because the draft plan hasn't been to council. We are still in the process of preparing the draft plan, but you are correct in what you said, Councillor, also with regards to the status of the plan as it is, but Reg 19 is not out as yet. So.
I'm happy to clarify my language and say as we approach Reg 19 then.
Thank you for clarifying all those legal issues. Any other members wish to ask a question, or let's move on to general comments as well. Let's not hold members back. Anybody else out there want to say anything? Okay, well, while you're thinking about it, I'll just there's Kathy. Kathy's gone with the hand up option just to annoy me.
I've gone with the hand up because I can't get into my chat.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have any. I'll put it. Shall I put it down? I don't really have a question for the developers.
That's right. We moved on to
that. I do think that the planning officers, the developers, I think they've come out with a very, very exceptional, multifaceted scheme, which I think will elevate Birkenhead into the next. Going to say millennia, but we're already in it, really, aren't we? I think it's very good. I do like the fact that there's the hotel complex as well as housing, office, cafe culture, everything. And I do think going forward that there's the walkway, you've got the garden centre. I think it's been very well thought out, not just for now, but going forward, as Steve alluded to, with green issues and not always using cars, although I still think there's a need for cars in any event. But I do think basically it's a very well thought out scheme. I have followed the development through economic regeneration, and I personally can't fault this scheme, I have to say, and I'd like to commend the council officers and Muse and Alan Evans in particular, who I know has been driving this forward. And over the last 20 years, we have looked at Birkenhead being developed, and it has fallen by the wayside. And I know the developer from Muse said about false dawns in the past, and he's absolutely right. And you can now, if you go to Birkenhead, you can see the sort of the beginnings of a start of what I hope will be a wonderful regeneration of the Birkenhead area, which I think will then spread across the whole of the Wirral. So I'm looking forward to seeing its fruition. I know it's going to be a long-term one, and I might be 80 by the time it's finished, but I hope to see it. And of course, Neil Williams is young enough to be able to see it finished. But yeah, fabulous development, and I'm very much in favour of it. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Kathy. Andrew Gardner.
Hi, thanks, Stuart. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to echo Kathy and Steve there, I think this is a great move for Birkenhead, and I'm happy to support it. Picking up on Steve's comments about post-COVID and business, I think business will be fine. Business does what business does. It adapts to the situation that it's in, and it prospers because that's at its heart. Our job is to facilitate things for business, and I think this scheme does do that in a holistic way. I do have some concerns that we're not perhaps marking our own homework here, picking up on the regulation 19 and the local plan. If we were in normal committee and a developer came forward and said to us, your UDP is 20 years out of date, we probably turn around and say, actually, it might be out of date, it might be this, but it is the UDP. So I'm content that we've got enough reason to make a departure on this, but I do have some concerns that perhaps this is going to perhaps come back at us at some point in another application if we get delayed on the local plan or something like that. Perhaps a bit of clarification from officers on that would help. Thank you.
I get the impression, Andrew, so developers tell us our UDP is out of date all of the time, particularly when they want to build houses in various different places. Yeah, but as we said, we need to just recognise it's a departure and understand the reasons why the benefits outweigh the downside of unallocating employment land that hasn't been used for the past 25 years to residential use. Kath, you're back.
I am, Chair, but I think you've just answered what I was, or said what I was going to say. But the report, just to reassure Councillor Gardner on that, the report is quite balanced, and you'll notice from the concluding paragraphs that it lists the planning balance, and it is about weighing up the potential harm, which we've quoted in the report as, we've said that there's sort of limited harm perhaps to the Crown Public House listed structure. You have to take that into account, and the harm in relation to departure, but the benefit is in relation to the jobs, creating the mixed sustainable community, improving the bus station, creating the public realm, reinvigorating the whole area, which is actually doing what a lot of the UDP wanted to do as well, which is reinforce Birkenhead Town Centre as the sub-regional sort of centre. So in our view, the public benefit for this scheme significantly outweighs the harm, and we've made that clear in the report, based against the UDP, not any emerging plan.
Okay, I think that's perfectly clear. I'd seen in the report the suggestion that there might be less than significant harm to the heritage asset that is the Crown Public. So I can't help reflecting that, it's been there so long. It was surrounded by oak and elder gardens. It survived that being built, and it survived it being pulled down. And it survived the flyover to the tunnel being built, and it survived the flyover to the tunnel coming down. And I guess it's going to be able to survive, what's around it now being removed, and the new infrastructure put in place, and will continue to sit there as a little jewel on that stretch of highway. So I've considered the Crown Public House, believe me, and I think it will flourish in its new setting as it has over the years. Did I see somebody else click something in? Oh, it was Andrew. But yes, that's another potential thing to consider for us. Worth drawing attention, I think it's the first time that we've had in a report the contribution to education from a development. It's such a large one that it seems to have triggered that. And also, we are often asked, aren't we, what will the impact be on doctor surgeries? That also has been considered. On the positive side then, yes, regeneration, that's a benefit in its own right for this part of town. The developers said, Kathy Hodson pointed out, false dawns in the past. Many plans have fallen through. Steve referred to the building of the pyramids. You'll also remember the Citylands development that put some development in the area, but always gave the impression that they finished a lot earlier, and it was only ever really half done. And Europa, I think, almost demonstrates that. It's clear the applicants have been able to pull the various parts of this area together and have produced a comprehensive proposal that will redevelop a large area, re-provide the market, and bring quality and energy efficient office and residential homes back into the area. And I think that putting people back into town can only help but lift it for the future. Okay, so we established this committee because we're aware of a number of these large applications coming forward. This is the first, and I know it won't be the last. Any other than comments from members, or are we close to voting? Not seeing any further comments. Okay, so to give us something to debate further, if you want, I'll formally move the recommendation, including the suggested amendments by the planning officers concerning any potential future changes to conditions. Steve.
Yeah, if you want to move it, Chair, I'm more than happy to second it. But the only thing I think I've read in the amendment to what is there, it says delegated to officers and the chair. I'm always a little bit scary when the chair's hung out to dry. We have got a practice of whereby we and party spokes. I think that would be a good practice to continue, and then whoever's chair isn't left with just a not bouncing it off other elected members. So my view would be chair and spokes seems to be the norm.
Okay, chair, or the party spokespeople will probably just cover that, will it?
Yeah, the vice chair will be spokes, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Kathy, you all right for that? If you like, change where it says.
Yep.
And Kath Lawless, are you happy for where it says in consultation with the chair, in consultation with spokespeople?
Yes, Chair, that's fine. So just for clarity, then the change in that recommendation would be to make minor amendments to the planning conditions, or to add conditions in consultation with the chair and the party spokes.
Yeah. Do we say spokespeople? Is that it? I think I have a copy of what I'll cut it into the chat, just so that we can take a look at it. Paste. There we go. If officers could just look over that, is that I think that's what I was sent earlier. Is that okay?
Sorry, Chair, I can't see that.
The meeting chat, it's in Kath.
Stuart, I can't see it either. Could you read it out for me, please?
Hang on, it's probably because I have not pressed the button. Oh, there you are. So yes, it could have been there. So I could have blown my computer up. Can we see it now?
Yep.
Yeah, it's party spokespersons is the phrase used in the Constitution, I think.
Right. Okay.
Hey, you know.
Yeah. Does everyone understand that do you want me to change that then? Party chair and party spokespeople. Yes. Persons.
Right. Chair, just to be picky, can I actually check that there is a designated role for sort of spokespeople of the subcommittee?
Okay.
Sorry, but just to be absolutely clear on this, you've got spokespeople of the planning committee, but I'm not sure if that applies to the strategic subcommittee. But maybe Cecilia can advise on that.
Yeah, I think the role of the subcommittee mirrors almost the role of the planning committee. So you can consult with both the chair and the spokespersons of the committee, because this is a committee of the council.
Okay, notwithstanding those spelled persons wrong, you're not going to make me go back to it.
Spokespersons.
Yeah,
Could be either on third.
Okay, so as I just put it in the chat so that everybody can see it, and legal won't get upset with me. Are we ready to vote then? Okay, so we have a moved and seconded recommendation to approve with the conditions as attached and the caveat, the additional recommendation as in the chat box. So voting will be for, against or abstaining on the motion to approve. The solicitor will call your name. Please turn on your camera and microphone and say who you are before voting. Members should only cast a vote if they have heard the planning officer's presentation and the debate in relation to this matter in full and have not had any technical difficulties during this item. In the event that you have had problems hearing the discussion, you should not vote and indicate not voting when called. So over to Cecilia.
Thank you, Chair. So if I can call on Councillor Davies.
Councillor George Davies, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Foulkes.
Councillor Steve Foulkes, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner.
Councillor Andrew Gardner, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Hodson.
Councillor Catherine Hodson, 4.
Councillor Kelly.
Stuart Kelly, 4.
And Councillor Stuart.
Councillor Paul Stewart, 4.
Thank you. That's unanimous, Chair.
Thanks for that. That application is approved. Thanks to the officers for the hard work on bringing this report to us, to Regeneration and their partners in Muse for the work that they've done, the consultations that have taken place. Members, this is in fact the last meeting of any council committee before the local elections, and indeed I'm given to understand it's the last virtual committee that we're allowed to have before the annual general meeting. So next time we meet, it will be in public unless the law is changed to allow us to continue. We've only had 2 meetings, so I'm not going to eulogise any further. We certainly